Hi everyone. Okay, so real quick, I just want to go over some of the supplies that we'll need for this project. Now I've cut this from a Cricut bag. There's our fabric that we'll be using. I'm going to use the Cricut Infusible ink, this pattern right here, to go on here. I've got scissors is what I cut my fabric out with. You could cut it on your Cricut machine, but I chose to do it this way just so I could save a little bit more material. And then I've got the tape measure to go in the snap part of the bag, and then the 3M tape to seal the corners of the tape measure. And I've got my cardstock here and a piece of butcher paper. I've got my Cricut ruler here, and I've got my heat press heating up over to the right, and my heat press mat. So, and of course you'll need your sewing machine. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way real quickly. I want to get this ink transfer on there. Okay, so what we're going to do is get the big mat. You could use a smaller one. This is just the one that I prefer for doing this type of project. Make sure you put your cardstock on your Cricut mat so you can protect it. Now I heated up my press. I've got the Easy Press 2, so if you have the Easy Press 1, be sure to check your settings on the Cricut help page. But for my Easy Press 2, I've heated up the press to 385, and we're going to first draw the moisture out for 15 seconds. So let me grab a butcher paper here and move this out of the way here. And we're just going to put it straight down. And this is just to warm up or draw the moisture out of the material. I'm going to hit go. So 15 seconds. And then once we pull this off, we just need to let it cool a little bit before we put the Infusible ink transfer sheet on it. Okay, so I'm going to bump my time up. My next time is going to be 40 seconds. So I'm just changing my settings on the heat press. 39, 40, and set. Okay, so that's good to go. You get any possible lint fibers or hairs off of your fabric or your Cricut tote bag if you were using the whole tote bag. Okay, now I'm going to line this up. It's cooled off. I'm going to let it cool just a little bit longer. I'm really excited for this project because anytime I can combine the Cricut maker and sewing is a win-win in my book, so exciting. All right, I'm going to line this up ink side down. My hands were real clean before I started. You want to make sure that you don't have any lotions or oils on your hands, so make sure your hands are clean. Now, we didn't cut a design out. That's what makes it a little bit different. It seems like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? But that's just the only thing different, was that we didn't cut out like a design where we have to peel back this tape. So basically, we're just going to line it up as best we can. And then we're going to put the butcher paper over. Just like so. And then put the Easy Press on. You want to put it straight down. I'm going to make sure that that didn't move. I don't think it did, but nope, we're good. Okay. So you want to put, again, you want to make sure that your butcher paper is larger than your Easy Press, and you want to make sure that the heat press goes from the top to the bottom. So we're going to put this right on top. I want to make sure it is lined up since it's going to be close. And we should be good to go. And then I'm not touching it yet. I'm just going to put it straight down. There we go. And then hit it for 40 seconds. I've got this curve, but it's okay. It's not hurting anything. And this is just light pressure. I'm not pushing down. 20 seconds. always love it when I get to see what the actual color of these infusible inks look like. Okay, pull it straight up. Do not move it. I'm going to turn it off since I don't need it anymore. Take the butcher paper off. And I can actually already see it below, but we're supposed to let it cool before we pull this off. So that's, I always love it when I see it peel up like that and I can see it. It is so vibrant and awesome looking. In fact, from what I can see, it looks very close to the box. Ah, good job, Cricut. Okay, and then also make sure you have some tweezers by, and that reason is because when you go to pull this off, if any of it was to stick, you want to pull it off with your tweezers and not your fingers. So there's that. This is like literally pulling away. I think it's done. Yeah, it's totally, oh my gosh, look at that. It's beautiful. So it looks like I had a little owie here. Not really sure why, to be honest with you. It was this corner, except for that maybe, possibly my heat press didn't, I think that must have been it. Although I don't know why it would be curved. But in any case, since this is going to be a sewing project, not to worry, because we will be able to sew this right into our seam, so it's not going to be a problem. I actually made this, and that's a good point, I made this a 1/2 inch longer than I needed just in case. So I'm going to be trimming this part off, so we're good to go. So now check it out. I mean, we've got a piece of fabric basically that we can now sew into a snap bag. So once we get the lining, now that I have the color, I can go to my fabric stash and see what trim would look best with this. So basically, once we sew it together, it'll be like folded in half like this, and then my trim will be at the top. So I will go check my fabric stash and be right back. All right, so hi guys. I wanted to start at the very, very beginning for the people that have never made a pattern before on Design Space. So if you already know how to make patterns, feel free to just fast forward through this part, but I really wanted to include this for people who have not. So basically, we're going to make a pattern for a snap bag. It's an easy pattern to learn from because you have very basic shapes. And you will also learn how to slice, which is extremely easy to do. And I'm going to show you the process. So as you can see, I already have a pattern here made up. So we're going to make this pattern, but we're going to start from the beginning. So when you're in Design Space, you want to click on New Project. And we're going to start off with our first shape. Shapes is located second from the bottom. Click on there. We're going to make a square, and all we're going to do is change the dimension, the size of the square. So in order to do that, I'm going to go up to the measurements here, and I know that I want my snap bag to be 5.5 inches for the width. So I'm going to do 5.5, and then I want the length to be 8 inches. So I'm just going to put 8. Now we have our box. Oops, I forgot to unlock it. Silly me. So our width, 5.5. So there's a good lesson for you. If you want to change the dimension without, let me just show you real quick. Add another square. So I could try to make it this way, but the problem is it's going to stay a square no matter what. So let me move this over so you can see it. So you can go out and in, it's still going to be a square. So I had to unlock it here to be able to put in my own dimension. So I'm just going to close this X. We don't need it right now. So this is 5.5 by 8. Once I'm done with that measurement, I want to lock it back up just so I don't accidentally click on it and change it. So now it will stay 5.5 by 8 inches, which is what we want. This is going to be the outside of your bag. Now we're going to do the liner. The liner piece of a snap bag goes for the inside of the bag, but it also wraps around the top and the bottom it leaves like a little trim for your snap bag, which is a nice way to have the colors blend. So I'm going to add another shape, go back to shapes. I want another square. I'm going to move it over here. Now this one, let me just make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so we're going to unlock it. And this one, we want to have the same width, which is 5.5. And I hit the enter on my keyboard, and then I'm going to do 12.5. Whenever you make a snap bag in this design, in this way, you want to make the length 4.5 inches longer than your outside piece. So in this case, since I had 8 inches, 4.5 inches would be 12.5 inches. So I've got 5.5 inches by 12.5 inches, and I want to lock it. Now for me, I like to do things in colors. And blue happens to be one of my favorite colors. So I'm going to select this box for the outside. I'm going to come to the color, which is that little square there. And I'm just going to select a blue. I'm going to do the light blue. Now for this one, I want it to be a different shape blue. And the reason why this is important is that when you go to cut your material out, right, Design Space goes by colors according to your mats. So you want to pick colors that will remind you sort of what your fabrics are. My fabrics are not blue that I'm making the snap bag, but this is just for me to remember that I have one fabric design here, and this is going to be a different fabric design that will allow Cricut to put, or the Design Space to put, each fabric on a different mat. All right, so we've got the basics of our mat. One is longer, one is shorter. They're both the same width. Now we're going to make the handles. Now there's two handles that I've made before. I've made square ones where I kind of shape them into a triangle shape, or you can use the half circle poles, like a half circle as a pole. And basically that's what these are. It makes it easier to snap the bags apart. Now I've made them with poles and without. I myself prefer the poles, but some people prefer without. It's completely personal choice. So I'm going to add both kinds here. That way you'll have a pattern that I'll be giving you. And you can always adjust the sizes if you like once you have the pattern, or you can just watch along with this video and feel free to make your own pattern. You'll be really good at doing it. And then you kind of get hooked, right? It's like once you figure out the process, it's like, oh, look what I can do. All right, so for the two triangle poles, what we need basically are two more squares. So I'm going to select shapes and select a square. And I want my square to be 3.5 inches. So I'm going to unlock it, and I'm going to do 3.5 and hit enter. And oops. 3.5, there we go. All right, so I've got a 3.5 inch square. Now I'm going to go ahead and lock that. Now I'll show you what I'm going to do. Rather than make two separate squares, first I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to click this little X again, or the square. I'm going to pick a different shade of blue. Okay, now since I know I want, a pull on each side of the bag, I'm going to right click. Oops, I'm sorry. There it is. Okay, so I'm gonna do this again. Right click, you select it, then right click it. Then you get the option to duplicate. Now we have two pulls of the same size, and they're the same color, which is what we want. Now the only thing left is to make the two circles. So the circle, basically what we're going to do is make a circle, but we're going to cut it in half, or slice it in half, I should say. So we're going to go to the shapes, select my circle, There it is. Well, where did it go? That's funny. Okay, so I'm going to bring it down. There we go. And I want my circle to be 2.5 inches. So I'm at a 2.5, and I forgot to unlock it, didn't I? Silly me. Okay, 2.5. Okay, so there is my 2.5 inch circle, and I only want half of this. So I'm going to get another shape. This is how we're going to slice. Bring this down. Okay, I'm going to change the color of the circle to a blue. And I'm going to go with this blue. Okay, so in order to cut or slice something in half, you want to go half of the 2.5 inch. So we're going to take this square and we're going to line it up to be half of that circle or thereabouts. It doesn't even have to be perfect. You could make yours, maybe you want your pulls to be that size. So this is another personal preference, but what I'm going to do is do it in half. So in order to do that, I'm going to put my circle right in the middle of these lines just to make it easier for me. Okay, and then we can line up our circle right there. Sorry. Okay, so just a tiny bit lower. There we go. Okay, so now we want to select both. So rubber band, click your mouse and then select both like that. Now you can see they're both selected. And now we want to click on slice in the lower right hand corner. Now we take this away and we take this away. And now we've got 2 circles. Now, since I don't know that I did them exactly in half, the easiest way to do this for me is to take one and just get rid of it, and then take this one, and then I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to right click again and select duplicate. Now I've got my 2 half circles, and all of this I can just get rid of. So I click on it, or I could get rid of all of them. And then close. All right, so there you go. You learned how to slice. Nicely done. And then when it comes time to make it, let's say you wanted to make it and you wanted to use the square or the triangles, because basically once we cut them out, we fold them in half and that makes our triangle. And then I'll show you another trick on how you can do that as well once we have it out on the fabric part. But for here, let's say I wanted to make a snap bag and I wanted to have the triangle pulls and not use the circle ones this time. To do that, I would just click on the eyeball over here for each half circle. And that way it's still there in case you want it next time. But for this specific project, once we slash out the eyes there, it takes it off of our mat, which means it's not going to cut them today. So same thing. Maybe I wanted the circle pulls. I would click on the eye again and there they are. And I decide I don't want the triangle one. So I put the eye, the eye here. And now I've got the outside lining, or I'm sorry, the outside of the snap bag, the lining of the snap bag, plus the trim and your 2 pulls. So there you go. It's super easy to make a pattern. And if I were to go and click make it, I would click, because right now it's good to go. You can click make it. It's going to put all of my mats in different colors, because that's how, like I said, it cuts. And then it tells you right here, at least one of your images is larger than the 11.5 inches for the mat. So that means I would have to use the long mat, or if you didn't have a long mat, you could actually, this entire pattern, you could cut out with scissors or a rotary cutter. So, but if you wanted to cut it with the Cricut Maker, like for me, I love cutting fabric with my Cricut Maker. For me, it's quicker. I don't like having to line things up on the mat all the time and use my rotary cutter. So I love the Cricut Maker for cutting my fabric. All right, so I would click OK on this because I do have a larger one. And then it tells you the 3 maps. I would hit continue. I don't even have my Cricut Maker on right now. I just basically wanted to show you how to make a pattern. So let me turn on my Cricut Maker. Hold on one second, it's behind me. Okay, so it's firing up. That way I can show you the rest of the part. So click continue. It's going to look for my machine. I'm using the Maker today. I'm also on Bluetooth, so it takes a little bit longer. Okay, and it wants us to select our material. So for this, it depends on your fabric. So I know that one of my fabrics is a cotton. So that's going to be for the lining part. So again, if you weren't sure which, you can browse all materials and you have tons and tons to choose from in the fabric section. So I do actually have, since this is the one I'm doing today is with the Cricut Maker, I've already cut the fabric out, so I don't need to select it. But if I were cutting it out, I would go with the canvas one. I tried the cotton with more pressure last time and it didn't work so well. So I would go with the canvas. All right. So I'm ready to cut this out now. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut them out with both of these types of pulls. That way I can show you how to fold the squares into triangles. I know of 2 different ways to do it. It kind of gives it a nice finished edge to your triangle look for the pull. For this one, I'm going to be using the faux suede that Cricut has for the pulls on this particular project. So, all right, so let's go ahead and continue. I'm going to go ahead and click on Make It. Actually, I forgot. I already have this cut out because I cut this part out with scissors since it was a piece of fabric cut from a Cricut Infusible ink tote bag. So I am going to turn that layer off. I don't need to cut another one. So hopefully that doesn't confuse you too much. All right, so basically all I need to cut out is the lining and the triangle pulls and the half circle pulls. Okay, I'll click on Make It. And it's going to cut my lining first. It's giving me the warning that one of my images is larger than 11.5, so it needs a longer mat. So I'll click on OK. Now, if you didn't have a longer mat, you could always cut this one piece of fabric out with your scissors. Okay, so go ahead and click Continue. It's going to connect to my Maker. And we're going to set the material. So the first material is cotton. And I just want the default, and I need to load my rotary blade. Okay, so it says to go ahead and switch to my rotary blade, so let's do that. And we'll load up our fabric here. Okay. Here's our brayer. This helps smooth the fabric on really well. And like that, if you need to, you can always pick it back up. This particular piece of fabric has been folded up in my fabric stash for a while, so it's got some good good little fold lines, but that's not going to matter to the Cricut Maker. It'll cut with absolutely no problem. Okay, so that's smoothed out good. Whoop, not right there. There we go. Perfect. All right, now I actually do need to move my Cricut Maker out just a little bit since it is my long mat. And for filming purposes, I want to make sure that I have enough room for the mat to go through, right? Because this is the long mat, so apologize for that. I think that might be enough. Hopefully you're in camera. We're gonna test it and see how it works. I think we should be good to go. All right. I put the rotary blade in, and we're gonna load our mat. And go. It's checking for the blade. And we'll unload our mat, and we will take our fabric off. As you can see, it cuts it perfectly. All right. Put my mat. All right, get this out of our way. Okay, so we're still on the cotton setting. So basically what we're going to be doing now is the triangle pulls. Okay, so that's good. Load the mat. And hit go. I can start loading my green one. So this is the ultra suede that I'm going to load on my green mat here. Okay, let me pull that out and set it aside here for a second. Okay, so like I said, this is the ultra suede. This is Cricut's ultra suede. You don't have to use their brand, but that's what I happen to have on hand for right now. And I'm just going to line this up. I'm using, this is a fairly new green mat, so I'm confident that it's going to stick well and it's not going to move. If your mat has been used a lot, you might want to go for either the strong grip mat or even perhaps put a little bit of tape on this. But like I said, this is, as you can see, super sticky. So I'm confident that the material is not going to move. All right, so I'm going to switch to my fine point blade. And then we also have to remember, in fact, let me get this out of the way. Hold on. Scoot this back to where she belongs. Okay, so we'll put that fine point blade in. There we go. And we also, when you're working with suede, you want to move your rollers all the way to the right. So let's see here. Sometimes there can be a little booger to move, but all right. So we've got those out of the way. Our material's on nice and tight. And I got to change my settings, so I'll be right back. So basically I was still on the cotton setting, and what I'm doing now is changing it to the faux suede, which is way down the bottom of the list under leather. Okay, faux suede, done. So that's why it's always good to check your computer while you're doing this, because it does give you the instructions along the way. One was to move the wheels over, and the other was to change it back to the fine point blade, which I had already done. So now we can load the mat. And it did not load, so we're going to try loading it again. It's because I didn't have it pushed. There we go. And now we can hit cut. Alrighty, and as you can see, it's cuts ultra suede. Well, pretty much like butter. Okay, so there we have it. We've got our two pulls, or the one pull. Put the cover back on this. Da, 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 da. Okay, so there are my two squares. So now basically, as far as design space, all you have left to do is click on finish, and then you're done. Okay, so I wanted to show you how to do the triangles two different ways. So this is for the pull-out part. Now this one, let me move this here. This one has a fold only on one end and open on the other end. So in order to do this one, these are also called prairie points if you're not familiar with the term. Okay, so you take your square and you fold it in half in a triangle and you press right here. Then you take your triangle and you fold it another triangle and you press the whole thing. This gives you an open end on this end and a closed end on this end, and you would just simply tuck it into your snap bag and stitch it in. Now this one, I like the look of this one better. It's more uniform. It's open on both sides of the triangle. But it does take a little bit longer of a time to put this one together. And once you get the hang of it, and if you were doing a bunch in a row, you could go rather quickly. So to do this one, you fold your square right sides together and you press and you pick it up and you want to put wrong sides together, and this one's been ironed so it's going to go together real easy, but had you not ironed it, you want these two edges to kind of come together, and then you would be folding as you put these two points together. These will automatically, you can just put your finger in here and then smooth it out. Same thing on this side. Bring it in, smooth it out. Once you have it in place, you can just kind of, manipulate it a little bit with your fingers to get the edges all perfectly how you want them, and then you just press the whole thing. So there you have it. 2 different ways to make a pull for your snap bag out of squares. And you can make these whatever size you want, so it's just pretty much your preference. I hope that helps. Okay, so here we are. We've got our 2 pieces of fabric. This is the lining piece. This will be the outside of the bag. This is that beautiful Infusible ink transfer on a tote bag piece of fabric. And then I've got the poles here. This is the faux suede from Cricut that I cut out with the Cricut maker. And then I wanted to show you this because I forgot when I showed you the earlier ones. Here's a third way that I completely forgot to show you to make the prairie point, and that is you have your square and you fold it in half lengthwise, and then you bring the 2 points, the 2 triangles in to form a point. So there's yet another way. So now you've got 3 ways to make a pull handle if you like. So I wanted to show you that real quick. And we've got our fusible friction pin. That's what it's called. So if you wanted to mark your fabric, I'm just going to use my iron to mark the folds, real simple that way. But if you wanted to use your marker pen, you could use this kind and then iron the ink off. I've got some clips. Now these are the measuring tape pieces that go in that form this snap. And so I just wanted to show you real quick. I cut them pretty much like that. You don't have to be perfect. I just used an old pair of scissors to do this. You don't need special cutters or anything. And I prefer the 3/4 inch, but that's up to you. That's just what I have found over the years. And then I cover the ends with some electrical tape. You could also use duct tape if you like. One thing to be aware is if you had a light color, you might want to use a white or a different color if you're using the electrical tape or the duct tape so it doesn't show through the fabric. But this is going to be dark, so I won't have a problem. So, and then real quick, you want to cover the ends so that anything sharp doesn't protrude through the fabric, and it's also a safety factor. So let me just do this last one here. Get that out of the way. And you could do it this way. Depends on how wide your tape is, or if you're concerned about any of the corners, you can do it horizontally. I just wrap it around and then bring it down. There you go. If these fold out too much, like if they bother you, you can also just clip them off. I'm not going to worry about them because they're going to be easy to pull in. So if they bother me, then I'll clip them off. But so those are ready to go. With this pattern now, I've made them several different ways. I made one, and I'll show you when I get to the part. But with this Infusible ink fabric, you can see how easily it wants to fray. So we really need to protect those seams. And on some other previous bags I made, some I didn't protect. I always at least do a zigzag down the side. It's going to be on the inside of the bag. You won't be able to see it, but it's still going to get a lot of wear and tear when you put items in. So for me, on a personal level, I would like to at least zigzag. And then in addition, I like to seal the deal up with some bias tape. So this is what it's going to be like on the inside of the bag. That way nothing's going to come apart or start fraying. And if you want to make it with the same fabric, get yourself one of these. Don't even know what they're called. Seam binding maker, something like that. I don't know. They come in different sizes. This is probably my most common one that I use. I have another one here that's smaller that I could have used, but I wanted to do this side for this one. So hence that. So let me get that out of the way. And let's get started. I don't think I'll need my sewing scissors just yet. Put those right there. Okay, so first thing you want to do is iron both pieces in half. This is the right side of the fabric for both of them. So what I'm going to do is take this one, the long piece, and fold it in half. And like I said, I'm just ironing this just so that I can mark my center line. Just a quick, easy way to do this. And I have my iron turned down to 3 for polyester because of the tote bag. Normally I'd be using a cotton setting, but since on the Cricut's help page it does say, or the heat press setting page, it doesn't say anything about ironing after you've used the infusible ink, but it does say dry on low heat or line dry. So just to be careful, I bumped this guy to number 3 for polyester, and I'm going to put right sides together here on this one and press. And then I actually tested it before I started the recording just to make sure. And on this 3 polyester setting, and I also used this pressing cloth, which is pressing paper. It's actually this one here. I really like it. I've been using this one for a long time. You can get packages of it, or you can get rolls of it. And you can use one piece over and over again. So that's really cool. So that's what I'm using today. I'm going to put the shiny side down, and I'm going to put it over. This is the outside bag, but it's put right sides together. And then I'm just going to press here at the bottom because that's where we're trying to get the center seam again. But it's just basically to make it so that you can line your fabrics up easily and quickly. Get this out of the way. Okay, so now we're going to put the long piece, we're going to put it right side down. If I can get it apart. There we go. Okay, right side down. We're going to put the outside lining, or not lining, outside piece right side up. So basically you're going to line up those 2 lines. It's kind of hard to tell with here. It's probably even harder for you guys to tell on camera, but I'm just making sure that these lines line up. That one is harder to tell because the press didn't quite, looks like it needs to go right. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to stick a little clip there. Just to kind of keep it in place for now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the top piece and we're going to butt it right up to the top of the outside bag. You don't have to measure. You can eyeball it. I mean, you feel free to measure if you like. I'm just going to eyeball it in place. And you're going to iron. And then you're going to fold that piece straight down so it just goes right over that outside piece. And press again. Okay, turn the bag around and do the same thing but on the opposite side. So we're going to fold it straight down so it butts up against the edge. Oh, and by the way, what I'll do as well is I'll add these 2 strips to the pattern. So if you want to do the same thing, these are actually 2-inch pieces of fabric widthwise. And I think I just made them 6 inches or something. But obviously you can cut it down smaller if you need to. Okay, and then fold this straight down and press. But like I said, I'll go ahead and add it to the pattern, so in case you guys want to do that as well. I ended up just cutting these by hand because it was like an afterthought, but all right, so there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fold this in half lengthwise. And this is just to kind of mark. You only have to really press the corners. What we're doing is marking where the center of the poles are going to go. So put your iron right there on the corner. You don't need it all the way across, just the corners. Just making a reference point is all. Okay, and open it back up. Now we're going to take our pull tabs, and like I said, I'm using this faux sway from Cricut, and we're going to put inside here, I'm going to do it this way so I can get the total center. And I'll mark it right up where that fold line is. I'm going to lift this up just a little bit so I can tuck it in there. Okay, so this is going to go right in here. There's my fold line right there. Put it a little bit farther back. I'll be stitching real close, so that's all I need to do is put this far enough back to where that we catch it within the seam. So take this and clip it right there, and we'll do the same to the other side. So fold this in half. And put it right, there's the fold line right there. So I'm just going to pull this up, pull it back just a little bit. Open it. And then lay it back down. And then you can adjust, you can measure however you like, or you can kind of eyeball it like I'm doing. Because simple is good. There's a time to be perfect and a time not to be. I'm thinking this is a time not to be perfect. But, you know, if you want to measure, feel free. Okay, so now I'm going to take the chance or the opportunity to clip a little bit more. What we're going to do is stitch right across here on both sides. So I just want to make sure that I've got a good fit here, just so nothing tries to adjust on us. All right, so we're going to take it on over to the sewing machine. A little bit further in, that's good. Okay, now this is my first video showing me sewing, so I hope it goes okay. It's an awkward place for my sewing machine to be, so I'm hoping it works out so that you guys can see okay. So please bear with me if it's not. Actually, I want to do this the other way. I forgot. This way is better for me. Okay, and like I said, we're going to do this stitch so it's nice and close to the edge. I'll do it right there. What that's going to do is bring my stitch right about there, and this ends right here. So you can see that we've got plenty of room to work with. The main thing is just to keep this nice and straight, since you'll be able to see. I chose black thread. I thought it would be nice so you guys would be able to see it as well that way. All right, well, here goes nothing, my first sewing video. I've always sewn by myself, or actually with the pets, so it'll be different. And make sure you back stitch and then come back forward. Take this out. Has absolutely no problem sewing over the suede. All right. Hopefully my head or shoulder was not in the way. Bring this over and clip it. And then we'll do the other side. So that turned out nice. Get my hair out of my mouth. Come on, line up. There we go. And backstitch. In order for me to do it this way, I'm actually standing up and sewing, which is actually kind of cool. I have high counters, so makes it actually pretty ergonomic for me. Okay, clip here. And clip our other sides. All right. So now we've got our pull tile or pulls in there nice and strong. We're good here. Now what we're going to do, this is the exciting part because this is when we get to start working with the measuring tape, which is fun. Just going to trim a couple of these off. I don't really want to pull them and make it worse. Okay, so this is when we turn our bag right sides together, and you want to make sure that you line up these points here. So hopefully you can see that. So make sure that those are lined up along with the top edge here, because when you put it together, you'll be able to see those seams. Once you know that you have it lined up, you want to go ahead and clip. And since I'm going to show you the seam binding way, because you could just zigzag this closed, but because this fabric, the tote bag fabric, likes to fray super easily, and for most of my bags, I like to do it this way. I actually have another bag that's in the works that I want to show you, but I really wanted to pop this video out, but it's a one that where you don't have any seams out, and that's actually my preferred method, but this is a quick, super fast way to do it, so I wanted to get this one out to you guys. Okay, so this is where our seam binding is going to go. Now, it's kind of tricky because this adds another layer in it. We're only going to sew the one side for now, and then this is the side that we'll be putting the measuring tape in. So I've got it taped there. I've already got it pressed over for a little bit. So that what that is for, let me move this down here, is so that I can put this straight down like this. So basically what we're doing is we're folding that edge over, putting this in the middle, and then we're closing it up like this, kind of like seal the deal. So that will keep all of that fabric inside, and no fraying will happen that way. And you don't have to make it this long. I just had extra fabric, so that's where I folded it. But like I said, you don't have to be perfect. The main thing is that you get everything lined up and scrunched down to my iron. Okay, so actually what I'm going to do is measure this. I don't need it to be that long, so let me just clip a little bit off of that to make sure I'm not in your guys' way. Right about there. Okay, so put this down, fold over, and then fold over again. And then clip. Take this part out, lay it down. I didn't actually iron it, but I think it'll be okay. Fold it in and then fold it over. There we go. And it's okay, like if up here a little bit of it hangs out, you can manipulate it a little bit more if you like, but since I'm on camera, I'm just going to try and do it so you guys don't have to wait so long. But I could make that a little bit neater up here. In fact, actually, let me do something real quick. Put that one in. There we go. That didn't take too long. All right, so we got everything snug as a bug in here. Just double checking. And then for me, I like to sew it where I started the thin end, because up here you got quite a few thicknesses, which is why I want to show you the other bag. That what I'll do is, if you guys want to make the bag that I'm going to show you in that or that way of making it, the next one, then let me know in the comment section and I'll record that video, because I actually have to make a bag for my drawing tablet that I use for Adobe Illustrator, and it would actually be really helpful. I mean, helpful for you guys if you want, because I noticed I was doing my research on this post and I realized that there wasn't, at least none that I found, any videos showing, full-length videos showing how you get all of the seams on the inside, lining and everything, so that you have nothing exposed. It's a little bit different of a process, slightly more difficult, but once you get it down and you can start racking them out just like these guys. So anyway, so if you want me to show you those, then yes, definitely let me know in the comment section. So I'm going to bring this up just a little bit here. There we go. Okay, so go forward and then back stitch. Whoop. Let me move this just a tiny bit. And this is one of those sewing things. This happened to me yesterday when I was sewing too. It's because I got it too far off of the plate. But here's your sewing workaround. It's going on the inside, so it's not even going to matter. So I've already done the back stitching, so I'm just going to start this one right here. Go forward. I'm going to go ahead and back stitch a little bit here. There we go. Make sure that's in there. Take this clip off. Perfect. All the way to the end. Back stitch. I back stitch a little bit more than I need to because this is the stress of the bag. Perfect. Yay. Okay, so you can see I got a little bit of that fold out there, and that's okay. It's not going to be near as bad had we not put something here, and underneath would have been a lot more fraying. And I probably would have had a straighter line had I not been recording my first sewing video, but woohoo! Okay, so now this is where we get to put our measuring tapes in. And you want to make sure that you put them both sides together, right, so that they do snap. So you want the numbers on one side and the bow part touching each other. And then you want to make sure that, oops, I'll show you one here so you can kind of see. This is another one that I had made. And actually this one turned out cute. I used some leather that I had, and it sewed up nicely. And so you can see, this is why it's important to line the sides up here. But you can see that in the measuring tape, I have it, I don't know if actually if you can tell, but you want to put that side in like that. right? So you want to have the number facing the outside. Now I've seen people do it the other way as well. This is my preferred way. Our family's been making these for many years, and this is the way that we've done and that we prefer. Has a nice snap factor to it. So, but like I said, it's got to be a personal preference because I've seen people make them both ways. Anyhow, so if it's number side out on the outside, it's going to be number side in on the lining piece. And you can put it on either side. I just picked the side that's closest to me. Just tuck her on in there. And you want to push her all the way to the end. And then turn it over. And pick up the fabric again. The tape's wanting to stick to it. Okay, there she goes. That might be one reason to trim off the edges if you end up with that kind of a thing happening. And no, these are not technically my sewing scissors, they're just my thread nippers. I would never use my sewing scissors on anything but fabric. Okay. I've got a tickle in my throat. I'm just gonna grab a drink of water real quick. Sorry about that. Okay, so I've got the tape all the way down. What I did was for this size bag, I cut my tape measures at 4.5 inches. That leaves you this much room so you don't have to worry when you sew this seam here. You just want to make sure that you definitely have enough room so that your sewing machine doesn't run into the tape measure and break your needle. All right, so basically we're done. All we have to do, or not done, we're close to being done. Let me put this here. Now we're going to do this side. There you go, see what I mean? It's already fraying again. Dude. Okay. So we're going to turn this over here. Just like we did on the other side, we're going to lay it right in the middle here. I'll fold this over and fold this over. And then clip it. Okay, so the same thing here, I'm just going to cut a little bit off so I don't have so much overhang. I'm going to fold this in. Fold this over. And clip. All right, and then back to the sewing machine. I'm actually done with my iron, so we're good there. Get it further on the plate. Hopefully the same thing won't happen what happened last time. But if it does, we know what to do. Oh, look, it is. Ah! I'll try one more time. Nope, doesn't want to do it. Well, maybe I need to make an adjustment, but we'll do the same thing we did last time. It's funny too because this is the thinner edge. It's almost like my plate. It's kind of weird. Okay, so we go forward and back and then forward again. Go back, forward, back. All right. Yay. Now we actually are done. Get these out of the way. So now all you have to do is turn the bag inside out. And you've got yourself a cute little Infusible ink snap bag. Let me grab my, let's see, I don't have my chopstick is what I usually use to poke my corners out. Can I use a Cricut spatula? Improvise. Well, not quite as good. Yeah, my little choppy stick is put away in my drawer. That one's not coming out very good. Let me try a pin here. There we go. It's a little bit better. I can fine tune it later off camera, but you get the idea. Just want to poke out the corner, the seams. And there you go. Isn't that cute? So think of all the options with the other infusible inks, right? Like, let's see. Hey, kitty. These are just a couple I have on hand, but how cute would it be to have, you know, different ones, different designs, different color pulls, and then the, not sure why that's doing it. Might need to be broken a little bit. But yeah, super cute. I hope you liked it. Let me show you some of the other ones that I did. And then I'll show you that one. So we've got this one here. Get this out of the way. I've got this one here. This, I thought this turned out super cute. This is actually leftover material I had from making Maggie some pajamas, and then I added a little pull tab on that one. And then I've got this one here. This one actually is going to go to Gary because, and he's going to have me make some, he's going to give me some measurements. He uses these for putting, he goes hunting, and he uses them to put different pieces of equipment in his backpack and stuff. So he does the kind of hunting where you go deep into the woods, and so he uses likes to wrap a lot of his stuff in things. So, and I'll do a couple of them also with waterproof material, like the kind I use for diapers, for him in various sizes. So got that to do, a little project. So I got that one there. These are both with leather. This I went ahead and did like I showed you earlier with the prairie point. I thought that turned out really cute. And then this one we just did today. And then this is the one that I was referring to, that when I'm done, basically what I'll be doing is stitching here and stitching up here. I want to do it at the same time I do my big bag. So so inside, I don't know if you can see, but inside, see, it's completely, it'll end up being completely lined inside and out. And then I'll close the bottom here for the lining, and then stitch here and stitch here. And this is my preferred method as far as keeping everything neat and clean. But like I said, these are super quick and very fast to pump out. These take a little bit longer, but I actually like the fact that they're cleaner all the way around. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. This ended up being my hack number 3 for using a tote bag as fabric. So I actually have some more fabric left over, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do next. But I have a whole bunch of projects coming up, so oh my gosh, feel free to subscribe and please like my channel. It's a new channel and I could really appreciate your support, and I'll just be here pumping out more tutorials for you. So I hope you enjoyed it and have a great day.